Hey guys, Dislater Magic here, and it's time for another MTG Mistakes. I don't know how we got this far into the series without me mentioning pretty much the number one most popular thing that experienced players will tell to new players, so this might not be news to a lot of you, but, well, based on the amount of people I've played against in, the last couple years, I would say a lot of people don't know this, which is pretty sad. Seriously, everybody really needs to stop doing this. It's like a basic way to play the game from now on that people are not doing. I just can't even believe it. And I can't really think of a whole lot more that'll lose you the game faster than making this mistake. So you're like taking away a giant advantage from yourself, and this might be solely responsible for why you are not winning on a regular basis. I'm of course talking about casting things as late as you possibly can under most circumstances. Now I could make a 60-minute video about the different reasons and the different ways that you should do this and different card examples, and then after that write a book about it, and then after that make a full-length movie about it. But for now I'm gonna just focus on one little particular part of it, which is card bluffing. Or just creating a card mystery, because it's not really bluffing. You're not like really purposely trying to mislead them. You're just adding in an extra variable that might make them make a mistake. Now I have made a video about this in the past, but it was a long time ago. I think I used my crappier mic anyway. But that's why I'm going to focus on like the exact specific scenario that comes up most often, and I mean really often. So let's say it's pretty late in the game, it's getting really down to the wire, and I've got a creature left and he's got a creature left, and that's it. We're both top decking, and so you know that, whatever he draws, hopefully it'll not help him out, and whatever you draw, it's hopefully going to help you out. The first person to draw a land basically loses their entire turn. So it's your turn, and, neither one of you want to swing because you could, destroy each other. Let's say one's like a 1/1 death touch and one's, a 4/4 without trample, just a plain 4/4, just something like that, where whoever swings, they're going to annihilate each other and nothing's going to get done. So the first person to pull like a boost or a regen card or, like something to grant it flying or just whatever, whoever does something to elevate the situation, probably going to win because you're both at low life totals. So you pull a card, you look at it, and then you swing. After not swinging for like 3 turns in a row. What is your opponent going to think? They're going to think, wait a minute. He's up to something. Like either he has a replacement creature or he has a boost, he has something to grant trample, or just he has something, and in reality, you pulled a land. But why the hell would you play that land during your first main phase before combat? There is no reason, and I mean no reason, to drop that land. You want them to think, hey, I've got something. So swinging would be actively bluffing, but, you're not like, holding it out like, oh, I'm about to cast it. Oh, it's a boost spell. You're not being that obvious. But it does make them wonder, what is it? Let's say they have 6 life and it's, 1/1 Death Toucher versus a 4/4. Well, if they let it through, they're not going to lose. Unless it's a boost spell, and if it's a regen spell, you'll just, swing again next turn and they probably won't have a replacement creature, so you'll probably win in 2 turns. But, any experienced player will say, well, if I let him through and it's a boost spell, I lost. If I block him and it's a boost spell, whatever, then I'll lose next turn, maybe, if he uses the boost spell next turn. Now let's say you, instead of pulling a land, you top decked a creature, and it's even bigger and even more powerful. You don't want to cast that on the field unless it has haste. If it has haste, go for it. That's why I said as late as possible, like within reason. Like don't cast a card or a permanent spell, whatever, until the last second that you need it, that it would actually be useful. If there's no reason to have it on the field in the first main phase, because you don't need it for devotion, you don't need it for, number of zombies on the field, you don't need it for, how many creatures have counters, like it would literally do absolutely nothing on the field, then don't put it on the field. The worst that can happen is that your opponent plays exactly the way they would have, normally, whether they had the information or not. The best thing that could happen is that they make a mistake, that as soon as you go to your second main phase and slap down a bigger creature, they go, oh crap. So let's say you pulled like a 7/7. They block your 4/4 with their 1/1 Death Touch, they annihilate each other, now you drop out a 7/7, one more swing next turn and you win, and now they're out of creatures. They better pull a creature or a removal spell. I bet they wish they would have known about that earlier because they wanted to block the 7/7 next turn, although then the 4/4 would get through twice. So, kind of a toss-up, but, general board state power, it would be higher to have the 7/7 out. Now let's say you pulled a land. drop it during your second main phase, and they always go, oh, it was a land, ha ha ha, aren't you clever? Whatever, you're not like being dishonest, you're not lying about the card, like outright lying and telling them it's something it's not, it's just playing well, it's not shady. Now, the same thing can be applied. The whole general strategy of don't cast something until the last second should be applied to any kind of boost instant. Let's say you got a +2/+2 spell. Why would you cast it during your first main phase? I mean, that's just stupid. Why would you cast it in response to declaring it as an attacker? Why would you not wait for them to, not declare defenders and then drop it? I believe you can cast an instant at the beginning of combat resolution phase or whatever too, which is after declare blockers. So then it's way too late for them to declare blockers, although it's kind of the same thing. If they decided not to declare blockers, I mean, what's going to change? Nothing. I mean, unless they want to let yours resolve go to the next phase, then they put something on the stack. So if you've got, that +2/+2, even if they have absolutely nothing on the field, you should definitely cast that at the last second. Let's say their mana's all tapped out. There's basically, as far as you know, nothing they could possibly do. No action they could possibly take. There's no spell they could cast. You should still do it at the last second just because you should. I mean, there's no reason other than it's sloppy play to cast it early. And then they'll probably flash in something for 0 that you didn't think about. I mean, it's just not a good idea in general. And like I said before, the worst thing that can happen is they play exactly the way they would have normally, which is pretty much do nothing. The best thing that could happen is, during declare blockers phase, they blow up your creature with, Celestial Flare, my favorite spell, love it. It says sacrifice attacker of your choice, basically. So you're like, oh, I better sacrifice him. Good thing I didn't play the frickin' boost spell. I mean, come on, people, it's not that hard. If they're going to blow up your creature in response to you swinging with it, you don't want to have burned a boost spell on it. That's insane. That is game-losing bad. I have seen so many people do that. I think it was when I had a perfect record, somebody swung with it, immediately boosted it. I said, oh, I'm not declaring blockers. Okay. Boom, blow up attacking creature. That was during the pre-release, and like I said, I had a perfect record at that point. I can't believe that they made that mistake, because then they were now top-decking, and I won because of it. So the number one use of this is creatures. You don't want them to have information about how many creatures are going to be on the field during their turn, or during your next turn. That is a lot of information for them to make a more advantageous decision. And it's not just what everybody thinks about. Board wipes. So you're swinging and then, they wipe the board with some kind of weird instant board wipe. Well, then, if they do it during combat right before they're about to get hit, then you second main phase drop out something that's pretty powerful. He didn't get caught in the board wipe. And I've had tons of people do that. They cast it first main phase, make absolutely no use of it. It's just sitting there with, with Summoning Sickness. Now they went from 3 cards down to 2 cards in their hand, so now they're running out of spells, and then I board wipe them. I obliterate absolutely everything. I used to do that with Garruk's Wake. Now that I knew they were short, now that I knew they packed the field and that I'm going to get swarmed next turn, I would just cast in Garruk's Wake, or, go get it with a tutor, and then I would nuke the board and they would lose because of it. Once again, there was no reason for them to put that creature out. It was doing nothing. It wasn't driving up their counts. It wasn't driving up devotion. It did nothing. Absolutely nothing. And even if you're like, oh, I am playing a devotion deck, so driving my devotion up, yay, are you going to use your devotion for something? Are you actually going to, use an ability that takes into account devotion before your second main phase? Because if the answer is no, then yes, there is a benefit to having the creature on the field, but not really, because you're not going to make use of it. So that just comes down to the golden rule, which is don't play anything until the last second that you actually need it. So if you got a creature with flash and you just want it to not have Summoning Sickness, it's not going to do anything. You're just going to bring it in so you can swing with it on your turn. Do not cast it during your opponent's second main phase. Cast it during their end step. There is very little they can do to actually respond to it at that point. And once again, if you get one thing out of this, it's the blocking assignment tricks. This is just huge. It's not even a trick. It's just don't let them know what you're going to do. If you have one creature and it's swinging against 2 creatures and they think, oh, maybe I should double block it, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should single block it, just prevent the damage, I don't know what to do. Well, if you're planning on bringing out another creature, don't do it during your first main phase, because then they'll think, okay, do I block it, do I not? And on the counter swing, I'm going to have to deal with that as a blocker. Oh, now I have way more information. It can flip a game completely around for them to just go, oh, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to double block. and then you bring out something like a 3/1, and they're like, oh crap, I just lost both of my creatures to trade with that one. I wish I would have known there was a 3/1 because I could, I have a 1/4 or something, and it could have killed it without any damage. Next turn, I wish I would have known about that, so don't let them know about that. And in casual Magic and, just friendly F&M, I've seen so many people just lazily throw out whatever they're going to use their mana for, doesn't matter. And that's the other thing. If you go and summon like a creature for 3 and you only have 4 lands, you only have 1 left. They know you're not going to do anything during combat. They know you're not going to, summon a boost spell probably for 1. I mean, unless you're playing red. And so once they know that you're tapped out on mana or close to it, they know that you're not going to do anything. And that's huge because whatever the board state is, whatever you're swinging with, whatever's happening, whether things are flying, trample, boost, whatever, that's how it's going to stay. And then they can make a solid decision and nothing's going to change. It's never going to backfire on them. So if you're just going to, spend 4 mana to draw 2 cards or whatever, why do that during the first main phase? Because if you leave like all 4 of your mana open during combat, anything could happen. They're much, much, much more likely to chump block and lose a creature if they think that you're going to, grant it double strike, or you're going to just, cast a spell that gives everybody +1 or something. I don't know. Just something bad. I mean, with a full line of lands open, I hate it when people go to combat with that, and I'm staring at that and their line of creatures knowing that they could do anything. So hopefully this helps you out. You guys should immediately start playing that way because, seriously, it's probably the #1 mistake I see, and it's just so detrimental. But, of course, this is not the end of the MTG Mistakes series. We've got some pretty awesome mistakes coming up, and I'm still working on the shuffling video. That's probably going to replace this as the #1 biggest mistake people are making, and that's shuffling wrong. You could build your deck however you want, play however you want, do whatever you want, and if you're drawing the wrong cards in a non-random sequence, you are going to lose the game. You are going to lose so many of your games because of that. You better learn how to shuffle properly, and I've got a way to test it. I've got all kinds of techniques. You guys are going to love it. So hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next video.